what a pleasure to meet you, man. And you got
Yes,
a
sir.
grip. You've got a sawmiller's grip. And Joanna, nice to meet you. I've enjoyed our email correspondence. You're a force of nature, young lady, and it's just a pleasure to meet you guys here. You got to show us what's going on with these beautiful orange machines. What is this? And then I just can't wait to see this thing work.
Cool. This is a circular sawmill. It's different from the bandsaw mills that you're used to seeing and people are used to using. And it produces absolutely amazing lumber.
Yeah, I get that. So I built a circular sawmill when I was a kid, but it was big and it was scary and it was not as regular as this. And so we've just watched it run with a gas motor, and now we're going to watch it run with electricity. Joanna, I interrupted you.
Well, I was just saying it's like the one that you built, but in the sense that, so you've got this blade, and then we have the two extra
Trim saws.
edger saws.
Edger saws.
So that it returns the dimensional lumber.
So in one
on each
pass, you make one board complete.
Yes.
That beats a bandsaw, doesn't it?
Sometimes.
Sometimes, in some
Every-
ways.
Definitely.
Time and place for everything.
Time and place, everything. So you've got Steve over here, your resident expert on running this thing. He's your head sawyer today.
He's my favorite old guy.
His favorite old guy. Steve, nice to meet you,
Nice
man.
to
You know
meet
what's
you.
going on. Show us how this thing works.
Alrighty.
Mobile Dimension sawmills had made an appearance in Southern Oregon by the time that I started building my mill in 1979. I was 21 years old. I had heard of them, but I had never seen one run until today. Now I have, over the years, taken some satisfaction in the fact that I figured out how to build my little sawmill without any money and without any help. But I realized today, as we snooped around Keith and Joanna's operation, that their effort and their accomplishment right here is at least an order of magnitude beyond what nearly capsized my boat 46 years ago. Their perseverance, their resourcefulness, and frankly, brilliant inventive willpower is like nothing that I have ever seen. One of the realities of these mobile dimension mills is how user-friendly they are. The mechanisms, the assembly, the function of these things is intuitive and in some ways uncluttered and downright simple. To begin with, you can actually see the actual size of the board you are about to cut before you cut it. The saws are relatively small in diameter, with very few teeth actually, and so they don't tend to be temperamental or fussy to maintain or make run. There is no back-breaking labor to turn the log between the cuts, and then there's no expensive mechanisms to understand and maintain if you buy a log turner on a different mill. You just don't need one. Once the log is loaded and dogged down, you just start at the top and saw to the bottom. And the best part, as far as I can tell, is these things do not need a computer to make them go. Another thing about the mobile dimension mill is that circular saws make a beautiful texture or pattern on the boards that they produce. The saw marks on a board that comes off of a bandsaw are just so boring. They're rough and regular, and there's no significance at all to the marks of the saw. But a circular saw pattern tells a story, and it reflects light in fascinating ways. And it's just a more handsome board any way you look at it. And besides that, this can be a real value-added selling point on some of the boards for some of the markets that you might end up wanting to sell.
So how about that? You may have seen my little old mill running. Vastly different, okay? So Steve, first question. Would you rather run this mill with this electric motor on it or this mill, same mill with that Volkswagen gas motor? Which is your preference?
That's a trick question.
I know.
No, this has so much more power and it's smooth power. It's faster and everything. But the gas engine's going to put you in the woods. You don't have to worry about a three-phase generator.
You can move wherever you need to take it and set up.
So they both have their.
You got versatility. You got some lower maintenance stuff with this, and
Right,
so
exactly.
you know, apples and oranges.
Yes.
Okay, so show us. So you're controlling two dimensions: how far over, how far up and down, and the distance on the edger saws.
Right.
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 How do you do that?
Okay. Well, first off on this, we're just running two big blade. We're running a 30-inch main saw and a large 19.5-inch edger blade, and then the smaller blade gets put up and out of the way,
So you
until
can make those beams with that bigger trim saw.
you can only do these two blades at the same time. You just move that small blade
I
out
see.
of the way. And then if you put the small blade on the bottom, then you can cut a 4x12 and anything smaller. And so
How long does it take to change those blades?
probably, I would say a half hour.
Yeah, it's a project.
And
Okay,
then,
so how do you move these things around?
okay, so basically first off, you'd put your log up and scale it and see what you're gonna get out of it, you know, the height of it. And then you would, you have a rack and pinion cross feed here that you come back
And that's
all the way
registering
up.
right there.
It's registering right here, and you'd run this up to the log. You know, you put the log on now. This scale here, we have these collars set down here. So when you go all the way down to 0, that's as far down as it goes, so it won't hit the log dogs. So you set
Okay.
that up. And this is your up and down scale. And what we have done with this is, say you're running a 25-inch log or whatever, and you want to cut down 6 inches, you go 6 and 5/16 of an inch
5/16 is
Yeah.
for the kerf.
for the kerf, and this pointer would be up here, you know, 25, and you'd run it down to the bottom of that, and that give you your 6-inch depth cut.
Okay. So you're just concerned with what you're taking out of the log with that pass.
Right.
Okay.
Right, because you do a multiple of passes. And then you're coming across the cross feed here, and that's done with this dial here that keeps track of the lumber you want. And you would come across, line up, and notch into the log, and then you would zero this dial out.
You take it to where you can visually see. You can't.
You would actually-
This is a place to start cutting and then make that 0.
Well, first you notch into the log first.
Okay, get a
you
base.
Actually, yeah, you get a base, and then you zero it out.
That's the rule of sawmilling. Your best opening face. Your opening face dictates everything else.
You do. And then you would come across, and the kerf is figured into this diameter. So if you wanted a 1 inch, you would come to 1 inch here, 2 inch, 3 inch, on up to 8 inches.
Okay.
And if you wanted 1.5 inches, you'd go inch plus half.
So what
that's
that
an
means
inch and a
is
half.
you can either send out full cut lumber or a lumber that matches the stuff you get from the store.
Anything you want. Anything
Okay.
smaller. How we're set up here is we can cut a 8x12 or anything smaller.
Okay, 8x12. Wow, that's a chunk.
That is a chunk.
And this frame, this track is set up to what? Cut 20 feet or 18 feet or something?
This is, we have 30 feet of track on here, right?
Yeah, 32, I think.
Okay.
we're at.
Wow.
10, 20, 30, 8. No, 8 and 8 is 16, 32. Yeah, we
Yeah,
have 4
32,
eighths.
yeah,
Okay,
it's
so it's 32 feet of track.
So you got 32 feet of track, so you can clean 30 feet or something.
Yeah, it's just under 30.
Okay. And so the logs come on. You got a little. Man, this is awesome. This is awesome. Let's go in and see. Let's go in and see how you guys make these things. These young people told me that they discovered my channel and my sawmill. I built a sawmill when I was a kid, vastly different than this. And so what we're looking at here, these are the carriages, right?
Yep, this is the carriages.
So on my mill, the carriage was it was just a big cart carrying the log back and forth, and the head rig in the husk on the arbor was this, and this is a combination. So tell us, we have 3 right here, and there's a hydrostatic and there's a mechanical. Give us an overview of what this is the guts of your operation, right?
Yes, so this is how we have decided to go about it, is supporting the old mills.
It's also been our learning process as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we have tortured ourselves, and these 2 mills here that you see in front of you, 2 carriages, these are hydrostatic conversions. So we took old customers' mill and converted it to the hydrostatic
Yeah.
drive, which is this pump here.
Okay.
So the different thing about this sawmill is that the drive and everything lives on the carriage and goes up and down
Yes.
at the same time.
Yes. Yeah. It was a huge step forward in portable sawmills from what I was trying to do. So you guys are thinking 2 thoughts. You're thinking providing replacement parts and repaired parts for did you say there are 4,000 of these mills out in the wild?
4,500
Okay, and there have been essentially no parts being manufactured or replaced for quite a while.
since 2017.
2017. So that is a big part of the niche that you're moving into, and you are improving, you are streamlining, and you're going to be manufacturing new mills.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we came into this as we had bought an old sawmill that we're like, you know what, we're going to fix this up. It's going to be great. They said they're in business still. They're just relocating.
Oh, you
We
were
can
going to
do
make
that.
siding for your house.
Yes.
Oh,
Still don't have siding, but it's okay. It's okay. We're gonna make sawmills first.
Yes.
And then, so because we came into it from the point of the customer, obviously we have a much more customer-oriented mindset.
Yeah.
We're not coming in being like, disregard all the old stuff, we're just gonna focus on making new stuff. This has been part of our learning process as well, is rebuilding the old mills, learning how they work, how they fix it, re-engineering certain parts of it while still maintaining that forward and reverse compatibility with parts.
Wow. Wow. And so one of the things we're going to be showing you, when these young people bought this pre-existing but then defunct business, they bought 90 tons?
Tons.
90 tons
I don't want to talk about
of
it.
unsorted, uncategorized stuff.
It was a mess.
Half of it rusty.
All
Yeah,
of it
all-
rusty.
yeah.
All of it rusty.
All
Some
of
of it
it.
inoperable.
Wow.
Yeah, it was.
And so part of the learning curve was, what is this and what do we do with it? And when people call up looking for parts, do we have one?
Yeah.
Yes.
No nervous breakdowns yet?
Oh, I've
Or
had many.
Several.
I've had
Several.
many.
Yeah.
I'm okay though.
Okay, good. Well, let's kind of look through. You've got some serious tooling in here. You've got the framework, a very husky framework for the mill you're going to take down to the Oregon Logging Conference later this month.
Yes,
You
sir.
guys are moving ahead. Let's see some more of what you got going on. So while we're in this part of your shop, this is like an order of magnitude bigger than that, because this is the guts of your mega mill, you're calling it.
Yep.
Yeah.
This is a 30 horse 3-phase motor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there'll be two of them.
Two of them on the carriage, capable of sawing a 10-inch by 12-inch beam, however long you want, depending on the track.
Yeah.
So that's a big step up from the current
Yeah.
biggest model.
Yeah. Because it's for those people that are in production.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, you don't want to have a massive sawmill,
Yeah.
but you're the one man in the neighborhood
Yeah,
that
the
can
one
make the
guy.
stuff that Home Depot can't make,
That's right.
and you want to make it efficiently.
Yeah, and if you're a woodlot owner and you've got nice trees, I mean, a 10 by 12 is a valuable chunk of wood.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
hard to get any place
Yeah.
at any reasonable amount. Glorious. And so these are output shafts that go to the trim
edger.
saws, the
To the
edger.
edger saw, yeah.
Okay. This was from the original model,
Yeah,
Yeah,
this
that's-
is what it started out as.
7/8 square. You guys stepped it up to this?
This was these designs were the designs that existed.
Okay.
So they obviously had the feedback, and we're seeing customers damaging and breaking the seven.
Twisting those
Yeah,
off.
yeah, because if things just aren't right, there's a lot of force that's going
Yes.
through those shafts.
Yes.
So then they upgraded for the 128 model,
Okay.
which was the standard hydrostatic that they'd sold.
That would make an 8 by 12.
Yeah.
4 by 8.
Yeah.
It'd be the most popular mill that the most are out there. of.
Okay, that's what the world has most
Yes.
of right now.
Yes.
But if you have your way, the world's going to have more of these bad boys.
Well, it'll be an option.
It'll be
I
an
think
option.
we'll still, like the 128s is still incredibly useful for people
You bet.
Yeah.
because that's what we can run on the gas engine.
That's
This
right.
you have to have 3-phase.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
so it's a stationary mill.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
just look at that, 1.25 inch, octagonal, 4140. That's a stout bar. That just tells you what kind of torque is getting discharged down into those edger
Yeah.
saws. I can't wait to see one of these guys run.
They're petrifying.
It's all scary, okay? Cool. All right, lead on. Let's see some more of this. So, however much these carriage husk arbor combination pieces dazzle me as an old school sawmiller, the modular section of the track is really dazzling and sets you guys apart from Wood Miser and all the rest, right? I mean, with those things, you get what you get. And with this product, you get what you get, and then you can extend it, and that saw will run as far as you want it to, in 10-foot increments.
Yeah.
And there's been this evolution from this to the next thing, and you finally reverse engineered and re-engineered your track to where it's dependable, and it will mate with whatever came before, and it mates with what you're fabricating now. That's amazing. Has this been painful?
Yes.
This has been painful because that was one of our big tasks, was to be like, okay, this was a very skilled guy that built this track. This
And
is
one guy.
built-
One guy.
One guy
One guy.
spent all his time building track. So obviously,
He's dead.
yeah, he's not here anymore. So
Man.
how do we solve this problem? Because it's a critical component in the sawmill.
Yeah.
So we were very lucky, and in this area there are a lot of helpful, useful people,
Yes.
and they have helped us develop this product. So we knew we would have to go to a different way, and this is a sheet metal, lasered out and broken.
yeah.
So it jigs itself, it holds itself, We have worked with our fab guy and revisited time after time to be like, how do we make this better? How do we make this more efficient? How do we make sure you get the welds where it needs to be consistent? How are we going to get it to fit together?
And try and make it user-friendly too.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
if you've got old track and you try and you drop a tree on it and you got to get new stuff, how do you get it to fit together so that it rides and it doesn't get bound on
So
the
your saw
teeth
travels
here?
straight
Yeah.
and smooth
Yeah.
And it
and
doesn't stop.
consistent.
Yeah, because
yeah.
There's, you don't have much tolerance in your rollers, so your transitions at each point have to be spot on, or
Yeah.
else your saw is just going to stop.
You don't want to go and click, click.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
stop.
you're
Yeah.
gonna you'll
I don't think it'll even click. It'll just go ka-chonk.
Yeah, because there's only a certain amount of friction pulling this thing along.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
So everything was inventing a wheel.
yes.
New
we're
wheels
we're
and new
reinventing
Yes,
the wheel
ev-
a lot of
even
times.
if you come and see this rack here, this rack used to be punched out.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
So they would have a punch press, and they would run the metal through the punch press, and they would time it, bang, 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 for
Right.
each one of these.
Right.
They came out all curly.
Yeah, and
Yeah, it would-
Yeah, exactly.
And depending on who was running the punch press, how much attention they were putting, you would get variation.
Yeah.
And the speed up and slow down in the accordion.
Ah, but now you're laser cutting
So now
this,
it's lasered.
and it's precise.
And it's
Yeah.
precise.
And it's straight.
And it's straight, and it's every time. So we know then to the old stuff, it'll still take a bit of fitting because, like I say,
Sure.
it's the timing. But now we know on the new stuff, it goes together.
So this has
Smooth.
been a big obstacle for you guys to nail down this track.
Yeah, this.
It's
this
a lot.
Yeah, yeah. This.
But it's been good.
Yeah, it's been good. Well, it's
been
good
good.
now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. All right, lead on. What else can we look at in this place? And we still have to talk about the insurmountable obstacles you've surmounted to get to this point. So
I don't know.
Let's look at some more of your gear. So we're coming down here. I recognize a brake.
Yeah. So
Right.
this is our sheet metal brake. So we just break like the light stuff.
Just the light stuff.
Just the light stuff. So.
And where precision is not vital.
Yeah, no, this is
Guards and stuff like
yeah,
that.
this is a step down. Obviously,
Sure.
we're going to make it to having our own ability to cut, our own ability to form.
Yeah.
But that's somewhere where we need
Yeah.
to go to.
Yeah.
We just
good.
physically don't have the space for a lot of stuff.
Yeah, you just
Yeah.
don't have room for everything.
yet.
Yeah.
But you guys have figured out how to outsource things that need to be outsourced.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, that's a critical skill, finding the people.
We're doing more with less.
Yeah,
That's
so
for
so
sure.
that's been a big part of this is us developing the knowledge to know what's right and figuring out the people to get that right.
Boy, it's all about who you know, isn't it?
It is unbelievable because everybody will say they can do it, and there's people that can, and there's people that talk.
Yeah.
And in this world of physical reality, where you're dealing with steel and you're dealing with tolerances and dealing with things stacking up, you very, very quickly find those people, and you keep them close.
Oh, boy, that's good counsel. All right, fab table,
Fab
storage
table.
of parts. We get that. Like my shop, cut-off saw, cutting torch. How often in this 21st century shop do you use a cutting torch?
John
I-
uses it like 5
yeah.
times a day.
5 times a day. There you go.
I wouldn't have believed how useful it was, but we have the most amazing fab guy, and all the time you just hear pop, pop, pop. And he's lighting that thing and he's going to it because he's heating something up the bend.
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
just cutting something off. He's just it's
Yeah.
unbelievable.
And a plasma cutter won't do everything.
Yeah,
These
yeah,
are knives.
Yeah.
No, definitely,
Cool.
definitely.
All right. Okay, you got welding, you got cutoff. What is this?
This is a spot welder.
That's a spot welder.
From like the 40s.
Yeah, this is the
Yeah.
Acme spot welder.
This is another project.
No, this thing's awesome.
The-
This is like the coolest thing we have.
This works, and it's awesome because obviously you've got this deep throat, so
Yeah.
you can get material back in, and this is what we do our main guards on,
Okay.
because that allows us to get in and
Wow.
Yeah.
stretch it.
Wow. What a shop.
Yeah.
What a shop.
So this is
You're
a
gonna like
cool.
this one.
This is made from an old axle and transmission. This is an exhaust bender. We use this for
Oh.
bending the pipe.
Because it gets that super tight radius on the exhaust.
Yeah.
And this does it without any like crinkles and
It
wrinkles.
doesn't collapse it.
No,
Yeah,
it
so-
does a fantastic job.
So the original guy who started Mobile Dimension, he was like a prolific inventor. So
Yes.
he built a lot of machinery and tooling himself. This one piece of equipment has bent every single exhaust that has been on every single
Wow.
mobile dimension saw.
This was part of the 90 tons that you were darn glad to get.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
this was
yeah,
one we were like, okay, this is that diamond.
Yeah, we
We're
went
like,
to,
it's gonna be okay.
We went to a bending company and they were like $5,000 for the machine.
Yeah.
And it
you'd
won't do what you want it to.
And it wouldn't do what you want.
And yeah, it might do, no guarantees. Send us a piece, and we were like, okay, well, let's sort this out first, get it sorted out, and get it in the shop and see if it worked. And it worked, so we were ahead.
I know.
Ahead.
And Steve knew how to use it.
And he
Yeah,
knew how to use it. He
yeah.
was his old friend.
Yeah.
yeah.
All right, so we're coming into a fabrication area, it looks like. I see vice grip clamps. I see a little Vulcan OmniPro 220
And
power source.
We have had unbelievable luck with these things.
You like
Yeah.
them?
Like them. Our fab guy likes them, and he has welded big stuff.
Yeah.
And
So,
we are just
shout out to Harbor Freight.
we're just torturing it till it dies.
Work it till it drops.
Yeah, because it's kept up.
It's kept up.
And
That's all it has to do.
We
is
have
the work.
we've never had a fab guy before, but John is unbelievable, because if you put that work in front of him, it's just boom, 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 boom,
Done.
done. Like, he is unstoppable. And these things have a duty cycle, and you can hear it in the shop. He's just like going for it, and you hear, you can hear the change in the sound and the weld as he's like pushing it, but it still goes.
It goes.
Like,
Still
he
goes.
hasn't. And
we haven't
don't,
burnt it out.
Yeah, we don't do major big stuff. Like, our
Sure.
stuff's kind of lighter.
Sure,
But
sure.
it's still amazing for.
Nice old Rockwell drill press.
Yep.
That's got to have one of those. Here's the track segments we were talking about.
So this is the track that's going to go to the show. So
in 2 weeks.
in 2 weeks. So we have got to fab this, and then it goes to sandblasting, and then it goes to painting, and then it will get fitted up, and then it will go on the trailer.
Okay, all right. And this is all laser cut, and the tolerances are 2,000ths or less.
Spot on, because when you're talking about, you're trying to hold something square, all these bends have to be spot on
Square.
across 10 feet, and that's, if your company can do that, that's awesome. Like,
Good
that,
company.
that's a good company, because we
And we
use
wanna
this
talk
as our
to you.
as our jig, because we fit everything around this.
Yes.
So if our bends are off, then that's
won't go on the jig.
massive. Yeah, it won't go together.
Yeah.
Somebody has to start sanding and messing around.
And look at this. The end cap on your track has got your logo on it.
Yeah.
My wife still talks about how beautiful that logo is.
Yeah.
Okay, mobile dimension. This is your jig for your track.
Yes, this is the original jig.
That's where you assemble.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the new track fits onto the original jig.
Yes.
Okay.
So they did it differently. So they obviously built everything and clamped everything here.
Yeah.
It doesn't need to be this works for us. If we were doing it again, we would do it slightly different. But they used to then have to drill the plates. So they had another plate here. They would frame up all the different bits of angle, weld it all together, and then come and drill the ends. So that's how everything matched up, is
I
because
see.
everything came through this jig.
I see.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah, this is the cold
That's
saw.
a cold saw.
Yeah, yeah.
Man,
So
I want one of those so bad.
these are absolutely awesome. This gets used all the time.
Yeah.
We-
Yeah. Yeah, see, it's not grinding its way through, it's cutting its way
Yeah,
through. What a
yeah.
difference.
So Sheldon is put in a square hole.
These kids have come a long way by making the best with what they have. The machines you're looking at aren't the newest, but they are theirs outright, no payments, and they're more than sufficient to get the job done. Having their own machines for this kind of work allows them to run smaller batches of parts, so they aren't tying up their capital in inventory that won't sell right away.
So we've got manual versions of those CNC machines. This is a mill, right?
Yep, that's the mill.
And that's a lathe.
Yep.
And if I understand this right, when you bought this business, you couldn't run a mill or a lathe, and now you can machine one-off parts to match.
The
Orders that
drawings,
come in.
yeah. No, I'd never ran a mill or a lathe, never touched one before in my life, but you have to do these things. There's no other way sometimes. You just have to pick it up. I love learning. I always wanted to do this, but I never had the opportunity.
Listen to that. He loves learning. And now sort of at the point of a knife, he had to learn to do something that he wished he could have done just for love. But you can walk up to these machines and make them go?
Yes.
Boom. Let's look at this motor. This is worth talking about. Is this a stock Volkswagen motor?
It started life as a stock
Okay.
Volkswagen case.
Okay.
So we have, this is the Sawmill motor. This is they made different sizes. I think this is an 1835 cc. So they took the VW motor block, cut it down, to create the space for this arrangement here, because everything has to be self-contained on the motor.
Okay, so they shrunk down the motor just to accommodate what they were going to do with it.
Yeah, so if you see here, they took off part of the face here.
Yes.
So then you could have this bracket here. So this bracket holds your starter, your alternator, and your governor. So
Squished it down.
so yeah, it's very condensed to fit on here. And the guys that are engineered this and built this are amazing. This is an amazing piece of metal here. This whole connection. So this is the flywheel. So they took the VW crankshaft and they welded on extensions. They modified
To get out to
get
here.
out to here. They added an extra bearing
To
in
support
here
it.
to support here because the load's coming
Side
down
load.
now. Yeah. So they did that. All this tin is all custom. These are the exhaust manifolds that we make. These are
Wow.
the manifolds for the air intake that we make.
And you make all these things
We make all these things. We make
These were on that green bender over there.
on that old green bender.
Yeah.
No kidding.
this is the pulley that Sheldon has made. And then, so this is the operator end. This is the way you're looking at the mill. So obviously this is all custom.
Yes. Yes.
Custom sheet metal. And then in here there's a blower that we make too.
To push the sawdust out
Push the sawdust out because originally the VW,
and air in.
Yeah,
and cools the motor.
Because
Yeah.
it doesn't have a radiator.
Yeah. Air-cooled
it's
engine.
all air cooled. And this blows air up and out instead of the VWs sucked it down.
Uh-huh.
So they changed that as part of the
That's a lot
development.
of engineering.
It is unbelievable.
And you had to reverse engineer what was going on so that you could then make the parts to move it forward.
Yeah.
Even just make the parts as they were.
Yeah.
Because these rot out,
Yeah.
so
Sure, have to be
you
replaced.
got to replace them.
So how many ponies do you get out of this?
67.
Yeah,
67?
something around there.
So 67 gas horse is taken care of by 30 electric horse.
Yeah, it's a difference in torque.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Completely different application. Electric, diesel, gas, right?
Yeah.
They all different.
And the new engines, when we're making them, are going to be different because this is a 69 millimeter stroke crank on it, and the new ones are going to be 74, so it'll have more of that low end torque
Uh-huh.
for that tool value.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that is just so awesome. And you guys have learned how to make these parts and pieces for the people that bought these 40 years ago and haven't run the mill for 10 years because they broke down, and you're going to have the parts.
You can get parts. You can rebuild every single part of these mills.
Brilliant.
We take them and they have been like on barges in Alaska. And you can imagine rotted out, and we restore them complete like to
It runs as brand new.
runs
Wow.
So
brand new.
it'll run for another 40 years.
Wow.
So
Impressive. Let's see what else is going on in here. Okay, so we're just about, we've seen most of this, right?
Yep.
Let's go over that's got to be the frame for the mill you're taking down to the logging conference, is that it?
Yep.
That's so
it.
stout. Show me that thing. That looks like a bridge, a railroad bridge. Wow. So this is way stronger than the frames I see out under those mills, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, 12-inch I-beam?
Yep. 12-inch I-beam.
Wow. So one of the things about your mill is it'll saw small logs, but it really likes to saw a good-sized log.
Yeah.
You're set up on a log, just saw for a while,
Yeah.
right? And a frame this sturdy doesn't mind a big log.
Yeah. That's what we wanted to have, a super built trailer, and our fab guy is a structural engineer, steel designer, so we give him the task of being like, okay, so what is the trailer that you would build? And this is it.
Yeah.
So we have spent the last couple of weeks putting this together, and now I need to get one more good coat of paint on it, get the wiring done, and then this should be going down the road to Eugene for the logging show.
The Oregon Logging
The Oregon
Conference.
Logging Conference,
2025. Lots of big equipment there.
Yeah,
Oh,
so
yeah.
we were there a couple of years ago, and it was pretty impressive. So we're pretty excited to get down there and
Be an exhibitor.
yeah, be an exhibitor, show off to the world. Like, no, we did it.
We're
we got a
doing it.
mill.
You didn't
we have a
believe us 2
mill.
years ago.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, that's just about it. This morning went by way too quickly for my taste. And buddy, let me tell you what, these people have work to do, so I'd better head south. But I hope to come back from time to time to see the progress that this young couple is making, the milestones that they are sprinting by. These two are equally yoked. They are pulling in step together, and nothing can stop them. So if you have an old mobile dimension mill and you haven't been able to get parts for years, if the website has been defunct and not responsive, good news, because the website is up and highly responsive now and the parts are available. And on the other hand, if you're in the market for a portable sawmill of your own, give them a call. You're going to like it. Thanks for watching Essential Craftsman, and keep up the good work.